The first time I heard it, I thought it was just kids. That's the easiest mistake to make in Dudley Hollow. You hear something strange, and your mind immediately looks for a normal explanation. A branch scraping a window becomes the wind. A shadow in the yard becomes a deer. A voice in the distance becomes someone walking home late. You don't jump straight to the truth, because the truth takes time to settle into your bones. And once it does, you can't get it out again. I teach second grade at the only elementary school in Dudley Hollow. The building sits near the edge of town, where the houses thin out and the trees begin. From the back playground, you can see the forest clearly. The tree line stands about 50 yards beyond the fence, dark and dense and quiet. The children don't seem to mind it. Kids rarely do. They swing, they run, they play tag. They draw pictures in chalk on the blacktop while the wind moves through the trees behind them. Life goes on. At least it did at first. The drawing started in late September. It was recess, and I was walking the perimeter of the playground, the way teachers do, half supervising, half pretending we're not eavesdropping on whatever games the kids have invented that day. 3 girls were sitting cross-legged near the blacktop wall, drawing with chalk. Lanterns. At least that's what I thought they were. Small shapes hanging from branches, drawn in careful loops of yellow and orange chalk. They had drawn dozens of them. "Those are nice," I said. One of the girls looked up at me. "They're not nice," she said. "They're lights." "Where did you see them?" She pointed toward the forest. "The trees showed us." Children say strange things all the time, so I didn't think much of it. That was my mistake. Within a week, more drawings started appearing. Lanterns again. Always lanterns. But now the pictures were larger, more detailed. The children were drawing the forest itself, tall, dark trunks with small glowing lights hanging between them. And sometimes figures. Stick figures at first, then taller shapes. Thin shapes, standing between the trees, holding the lanterns. I asked one of the boys about it. "Who are these?" I said, pointing at the figures. He shrugged. "People." "People from town?" "No," he said. "People from the woods." The laughter started shortly after. It happened during recess on a quiet afternoon. The wind had died completely, and the playground had fallen into that strange midday stillness where the sounds of the town seem far away. One of the boys, Caleb, was standing near the swing set, not swinging, not playing, just standing there, laughing. Not giggling, not the kind of laughter kids share when they're joking with each other. This was different. He stood there alone, staring toward the tree line and laughing like someone had just told the funniest joke he had ever heard. I walked over. "Caleb?" He didn't stop laughing. "Caleb, what's funny?" He pointed toward the forest. "They're telling jokes." "Who is?" "The trees." After that, more children started hearing things, always during quiet moments, always when the wind stopped. They would pause mid game, tilt their heads slightly toward the woods, and smile. Then sometimes they would laugh. Not loudly, just soft little bursts of amusement, as if someone standing just beyond the fence had whispered something clever. I asked the class about it one morning. Have any of you heard sounds from the forest? Several hands went up. What kind of sounds? Talking, laughing, whispers, jokes. The room went quiet. Then one of the girls said something that made my stomach tighten. They're getting better at them. The drawings got worse after that. The lanterns remained. But now the children were drawing the playground too. The swings, the slide, the fence, and beyond the fence, the forest. Only now the figures in the woods were clearer. Their arms were too long. Their heads tilted at odd angles. Some of them stood very still between the trees. Others leaned forward slightly, as if trying to see the playground better. One drawing showed a group of them standing together, laughing. At the bottom of the drawing, the child had written something in uneven chalk letters. They like recess. I brought the drawings to the principal. He flipped through them slowly. They're just kids, he said. They have imaginations. Kids usually draw things they've seen. They probably saw a lantern somewhere. In the woods? He shrugged. Maybe. He handed the papers back to me. Don't scare them by making it a big deal. So I didn't. At least not out loud. The janitor, Frank, heard it next. Frank had worked at the school for nearly 20 years. Nothing rattled him. He'd thought he'd seen it all before. One evening, he was locking the side doors near the playground when he heard children laughing. He assumed a group of kids had snuck onto the property after dark. It wouldn't have been the first time. So he walked toward the swings. The playground was empty. But the swings were moving. Slowly. Back and forth. Back and forth. Frank stopped walking. The laughter continued. Soft. Playful. Like children whispering jokes to each other. Except the voices weren't coming from the playground. They were coming from the forest. Dozens of them. Layered together in the darkness, laughing, practicing. Frank didn't tell anyone about it for 2 days. When he finally did, it was in the teacher's lounge while pouring coffee. I heard them, he said quietly. Heard who? Someone asked. The kids in the woods. No one said anything. Because everyone in Dudley Hollow already knew something about the forest. We tried not to talk about it. The last thing happened in early October. I arrived at school before the students, like I always do. The playground was quiet. The morning fog still clung to the grass. And the entire blacktop was covered in chalk writing. Large, childish letters stretching across the pavement. We know more jokes now. Under the words were dozens of drawings. Lanterns hanging from trees, tall shapes standing between the trunks, and in the middle of the forest, a group of children. Our children, standing among them, holding lanterns, laughing. None of the students admitted to drawing it, not one. And when recess started that afternoon, the wind stopped again. The forest stood perfectly still. For a moment, the playground was silent. Then, from somewhere deep inside the trees, laughter. Dozens of voices. Bright, playful, and almost human.